You ever notice how betrayal doesn't come with fanfare? No thunderclap, no cinematic swell of violins. Just a soft click, the kind you hear when a door you didn't know was open finally shuts. That's what it sounded like the day I found out my wife, Hannah, had been screwing her coworker. Just a click, then silence, and then everything else. It was a Tuesday. Always is, isn't it? Nobody gets ruined on a Friday. Too neat, too symmetrical. No, it has to be a Tuesday because that's the kind of day you never see coming. I just finished rinsing the dishes. Water still running, still warm. I had one hand in a soapy plate and the other reaching for my phone when I saw the message. I wasn't snooping. That's the thing. I wasn't looking for anything. My phone buzzed, and hers lit up at the same time on the counter beside it. Reflex. That's all it was. Her screen showed a preview. Last night was amazing. You got bruises I'm still thinking about, winky face, followed by a contact name I didn't recognize. Evan. That's all it said. Not Evan from marketing. Not Evan the project manager. Just Evan. First name, no context. The kind of familiarity that doesn't need explaining. I stood there, holding that plate, water spilling over the edge of the sink, soaking into the floor. Everything slowed. It wasn't rage. Not yet. That would come later. It was something else. Something heavier. Like my organs just packed their bags and left me standing there hollow. I didn't confront her right away. That's not how I operate. I'm not the type to scream and demand answers through gritted teeth. No, I sat with it. Let fester. I took a screenshot, emailed it to myself, and went about the evening like I didn't already see her naked in someone else's texts. We watched Succession reruns. Her head leaned against my shoulder like nothing was wrong, like I didn't already know she'd turned her body into someone else's playground. She fell asleep on the couch. I watched her breathing, slow, even soft. A lie, wearing a woman's face. That night, I couldn't sleep. I laid in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling, playing the last 6 months back in my head like a crime scene reel. The late meetings. The overnight conferences in Denver. The way she started shaving again before work. The perfume that only showed up on Thursdays. How she'd check her phone in the bathroom and smile. Just a little, just enough. The next day, I did what any man with a taste for quiet vengeance does. I got curious. Methodical. I didn't go to work. I called in and said I was sick. I waited until she left, then I started digging. Her laptop was locked, but not to me. I knew her passwords. She still used her dead dog's name for everything. Took me less than 2 minutes to find the photo folder she thought was cleverly hidden. It was labeled Billing Archives 2022. Clever, Hannah. Inside were videos, pictures, some grainy, taken from a hotel room mirror, others polished and staged. Her legs wrapped around his waist, his mouth on her shoulder, her eyes closed in a way I hadn't seen in months. I didn't look away. I made myself watch every second, not because I liked the pain, but because I needed it to be real, to know what exactly she threw away. I didn't feel like crying. I didn't feel like yelling. I felt like studying a crime scene. Like every moan, every thrust, every whispered God, Evan was a clue. And the more I watched, the more I realized I was never in these frames. Not even as a shadow. I'd already been erased. I checked her calendar next. There were meetings that didn't exist, appointments that didn't have addresses. I found her second email, the one she used to send hotel confirmations and rideshare receipts. I followed the money trail. She was careful, but not careful enough. She'd booked a weekend trip to Boston next month. First class, 1 hotel room, 2 guests, and there it was. Confirmation. It was Evan from her office. Evan, the new guy. Evan with the smile, too white and laughed too loud. I remembered meeting him at the company Christmas party. He shook my hand and said, "You're lucky, man. Hannah's a gem." And God help me, I agreed. That night, I printed everything. Not just the texts, not just the emails. I printed hotel bills, screenshots of their explicit messages, selfies they took when they thought no one was watching. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because I needed a record. Proof that I wasn't crazy. That my world didn't just unravel on a hunch. When she came home that night, I was calm. I made dinner. Chicken Alfredo. Her favorite. She smiled and kissed me on the cheek. "Smells amazing," she said. I smiled back. "It's a special night." She didn't know how right I was. And that was only the beginning. Part of me wanted to expose her immediately, blow it all up. But the smarter part, the part that had been betrayed and had time to stew in the rot of it all, that part knew patience was the real weapon. You see, revenge isn't about making noise. It's about precision. And I had just begun to sharpen the blade. She ate every bite of the Alfredo. I watched her the whole time, not like a husband watches his wife, but like a hunter watches prey that doesn't know the snare's already set. She made small talk about her day, how tedious her manager was being, how she might be up for a raise soon, how the new guy in the office was catching on quick. She said new guy, like I didn't already know his name. Evan. Evan with the jawline and the 5-day stubble she once claimed to hate. Evan who called her honey in a text timestamped 2 nights ago while I was asleep upstairs and she was supposedly out walking the dog. I remember thinking, she lies so easily. It doesn't even catch in her throat anymore. After dinner, she poured herself a glass of red and settled onto the couch with her phone, fingers tapping away while I did the dishes. I didn't ask who she was texting. I already knew. She smiled down at the screen with that absent smirk, the one I used to think was for me. I dried the last plate and walked over, leaned down, and kissed the top of her head. She didn't even look up. I asked, big plans for tomorrow? She shrugged. Just work stuff. Might run late. Don't wait up. She said it so casually, so practiced, I almost respected the craft. Almost. The next morning, I left before she did. I didn't go to work. I parked 2 blocks down from her office and waited. Watched her come out for coffee around 10. Watched her meet him around the corner. Watched the way she lit up when she saw him. She touched his chest, then his arm, then leaned in just close enough. I took photos. Click, click, click. Not for the evidence. I already had enough to sink her. But for me, so I could remember the way she looked when she thought no one was watching. The version of her I never got to see anymore. She used to look at me like that. Once, when she got home that night, she tossed her bag on the counter and said something about how tired she was, how brutal the workload had been. I asked her if she wanted to go away that weekend, maybe get some time together. Her face pinched for half a second, like I'd thrown off her schedule. I can't, she said. I've got the regional team flying in. Might need to travel to Boston for a night or 2. There it was. The lie wrapped in truth. That's how they do it. The best liars don't make things up. They just rearrange the facts. I nodded like I believed her, kissed her forehead, said, we'll do something soon. She smiled and disappeared into the bathroom. I heard the door lock. A minute later, the muffled buzz of her phone through the tile. I imagined her texting him, saying how I didn't suspect a thing. That night, I opened a new savings account in my name only, pulled half the money from our joint one and transferred it. I disabled online access to our home security cameras, changed the passwords to everything, Wi-Fi, streaming services, cloud storage. She wouldn't notice, not yet. She barely noticed me. The next day, I called her boss, not pretending. I asked straight out, is Hannah scheduled for any business trips this week? He paused, confused. Nope. What? I told him I thought she might have mentioned something and didn't want to overlap with my own plans. He said, she requested PTO starting Friday. A beat of silence. Is everything okay? I said it was. It wasn't, but it would be. Friday morning, she kissed me goodbye in her travel coat, wheeled her suitcase down the steps like she was going to war. She even winked at me. Don't miss me too much. I smiled. I always do. She was gone before I even finished my coffee. I waited 2 hours, then booked a flight to Boston under an alias and a burner email I'd made that week. I landed that evening. She checked into a boutique hotel downtown. Classy. Minimalist. I knew the room number. I called ahead, said I was her husband, and I wanted to send flowers. Nobody questioned it. I didn't go to the room. I didn't want to see them together. I didn't need that image etched any deeper than it already was. I sat across the street at a bar with a clear view of the entrance. She came out around 9, dressed in black, heels clicking against the pavement. Evan followed 5 minutes later. They didn't touch. She was careful in public. He was cocky, though, kept glancing around like the city owed him applause. They went to a restaurant. I followed. Not too close. I didn't need a confrontation. I needed a climax. At the restaurant, I walked in 10 minutes later and handed the hostess a manila envelope with both their names on it. I said, Can you drop this off at table 14? It's a surprise. She smiled. Said sure. I slipped her 20. From outside, I saw the envelope arrive. Watched Hannah hesitate, then open it. I saw her face change. Saw her glance toward the window, scanning the crowd. I melted into the sidewalk and kept walking. The envelope contained two things: a USB drive loaded with every photo, every screenshot, every damning pixel of her affair, and a letter. It was short. You lied to me with your whole body, but I'll leave you with what you never gave me, the truth. I didn't sign it. I didn't have to. She knew. And I wasn't done yet that I didn't go home right away. I let her marinate. I imagined her sitting across from Evan, pale and exposed, the envelope open between them like a dissection tray. I pictured his smirk fading into something uglier, something confused, maybe even betrayed. If he was dumb enough to believe she was just his, then he deserved to watch the illusion shatter in real time. I stayed in Boston overnight, checked into a motel with paper-thin walls and a television that only got static, but I didn't need distraction. I needed the silence. I needed to sit with the decision. You'd think a move like that would feel triumphant, but it didn't. Not yet. It felt like standing in a crater, smoke still rising, unsure if the bomb had killed what it needed to or just cleared space for something worse. When I got back the next day, the house was quiet. Her car wasn't in the driveway. I stepped inside, and everything looked the same, but the air had changed. Tighter, like it knew something had ruptured in it. I sat on the edge of the couch and waited. It wasn't long. The front door slammed open like a gunshot. She stormed in, face flushed, envelope in hand. "What the hell is this?" she spat, waving it like it was evidence in a trial. I didn't flinch. "What do you think it is?" Her jaw clenched. "You were in Boston?" "No," I said, calm. "You were. I just decided to catch up." She threw the envelope on the table. "You had no right. I had every right. I cut in. You don't get to rewrite the rules and expect me to keep playing." She stared at me, mouth slightly open, like she couldn't believe I was speaking without permission. For once, I didn't apologize. Didn't backtrack. I stood. "How long?" I asked. Her eyes flicked away. "A few months." "Try again." "6 months." She hesitated. 8. I nodded slowly. "Since last September." She looked surprised. I knew. "You checked in at the same hotel twice back then. Used the same fake work conference as your excuse." She folded her arms, digging in like she still had high ground. "You've been spying on me. I've been waking up alone next to someone who stopped pretending to love me." I said. "So no, not spying. Just catching up on the lies." For a second, I thought she might cry. But Hannah never cried unless it bought her something. She sat down on the couch like her legs had given out. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." That line, the classic refrain of someone who thinks regret is the same thing as remorse. "But you meant for it to start," I said. "You meant every lie after that." She looked at me, her face twitching like she was trying on different expressions. Defensiveness, guilt, victimhood. Nothing fit. "What now?" she asked finally. "We pretend it didn't happen." "No," I said. "We make it public." Her face snapped toward me. "You're not serious." "I'm dead serious. You humiliated me in private. Let's balance the scale." She laughed, bitter and small. "You're not going to tell people." "No," I said. "I'm going to show them." I turned my laptop around, the one I'd placed on the table before she walked in. A website was already loaded, one I built over the weekend. Simple, direct, truthhurts.net. A landing page with 2 photos. Her and Evan in the hotel mirror, and the email she sent him, calling me a walking piece of furniture. She lunged for the laptop, but I was faster. "Touch it," and I hit send. I warned. "Mass email. Everyone in your contact list. Your boss, your mother, your yoga instructor. All of them." She froze. "You're insane." "No," I said. "I'm just done being quiet." "This'll ruin me," she whispered. "You'll be ruining your own wife." "You're not my wife," I said. "You're someone I used to trust who turned out to be someone else entirely." We stared at each other for what felt like hours. Then she broke. Not with tears, not with screams. Just silence. That defeated kind, the one you hear right before the dam cracks. I watched her walk upstairs, slow and stiff, like gravity had doubled. She didn't pack that night. She just slept in the guest room. I stayed in our bed. Or my bed now. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was radioactive. The next morning, I woke up to a letter on the kitchen table. No apology. Just a promise. I'll leave. I won't contest anything. Please don't go public. I made coffee, drank it slowly, stared at the words. And then I logged into the site, stared at that big red button that said publish. My finger hovered. I didn't press it. Not yet. Because revenge isn't a single act. It's a series. A slow drip of consequence. I wanted her to wake up every day wondering if today would be the day the world saw what she really was. And I was more than happy to keep her guessing. She moved out 3 days later. No tears, no drama. Just silence and taped cardboard boxes stacked near the door like little coffins for the life we used to have. She didn't ask for help. I didn't offer. She took her clothes, her shoes, her espresso machine that I never liked anyway, and she left a framed photo of our wedding on a mantle. I waited until I heard her car pull away before I walked over and knocked it flat. The glass didn't break. I almost wished it had. The house felt too quiet after that, like it had been vacuum sealed. No more perfume lingering in the hallway. No more hair ties on the bathroom sink. No more texts from her popping up mid-dinner with a running late excuse I pretend to believe. I should have felt free. Instead, I felt surgical, like something had been cut out of me with clean, practiced precision. No blood, no screaming, just emptiness. The day after she left, I called her boss again. Told him I wanted to make sure her contact info was up to date in our records. He hesitated. Actually, Hannah's on leave, he said. Indefinitely. I said, oh, personal reasons. She mentioned something about mental health, he said. Honestly, she hasn't been back since. Well, you know. I didn't, but I had a good guess. Maybe Evan wasn't built to be her lifeboat, after all. I looked him up later that night. Company website employee page. His bio was gone. Just a blank spot where his name used to be. I did a little digging, found a thread on an anonymous work forum. Apparently, Evan had been let go. Quietly. No HR announcement. Just one day, his key card stopped working. Rumor was someone sent management a link. Not truthhurts.net. I hadn't pulled that trigger, but something else. Maybe someone inside. Or maybe Evan got sloppy. Either way, he was gone. 2 lives imploded without me lifting a finger. I almost felt disappointed. I hadn't spoken to her since she left, and I liked it that way. But that changed on a Wednesday afternoon when her number lit up my phone. I watched it ring until voicemail took over. 30 seconds later, the message came through. I didn't listen right away. I sat there staring at the notification, wondering what version of Hannah I'd get this time. Apologetic? Angry? Manipulative? When I finally hit play, her voice was small. Flat. I know you're probably loving this. I would too, but please don't ruin me. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want a chance to start over. No tears. No excuses. Just resignation. I played it twice. Then I deleted it. That night, I logged back into the website. The publish button stared back, pulsing like a heartbeat. I hovered again, then closed the tab. Not because I changed my mind, but because I wanted her to know the axe was still hanging. They could drop at any time. That was better than exposure. Better than catharsis. Fear. Sustained and quiet. That's what she deserved. Weeks passed. People started asking questions. Her sister texted me. Is everything okay between you two? I ignored it. Her mother emailed me a short, clipped note. Please call. We're worried about Hannah. I replied with a single sentence. Ask her. She didn't respond. Good. Let her family turn inward. Let them wonder what the hell she'd done to deserve my silence. I started sleeping again. Real sleep. Heavy, dreamless, uninterrupted. I cooked for myself. I cleaned because I wanted to, and not because she guilt me into it. The house started to feel like mine, not ours. Then one morning, I got an email from Evan. Subject line, closure. No greeting. Just a single paragraph. You won. If that's what you needed, you got it. She's not speaking to me. I lost my job. I lost everything. I don't expect sympathy, but I do hope you feel better. Because I don't. I read it 3 times. Not because it moved me, but because it confirmed something I'd started to suspect. Evan was never the point. He was just a mirror. The reminder that people like Hannah don't fall. They jump, and they expect someone soft to catch them. She thought Evan was softer than me. She was wrong. I archived the email. Then I opened the site one more time. I didn't press publish, but I added something. A countdown timer. 60 days. No labels. No explanation. Just a ticking clock above those photos. Let her wonder. Let her sweat. Let every one of those days peel a layer off her carefully constructed life. Some people want revenge fast and loud. I prefer mine like poison. Slow, undetectable, but inevitable. The thing about silence is that it's not empty. It's full. Full of words unsaid, moves unmade, threats that don't need to be spoken out loud to carry weight. The countdown on the site ticked like a soft drumbeat in the back of my head. Every morning I'd check it. 59 days. 58. 57. I never advertised the site. Never posted the link. Didn't need to. The point wasn't exposure. It was pressure. A slow, tightening noose. I knew she'd seen it. I'd seen the analytics. IP address traced back to a location 5 blocks from her sister's condo, where she was reportedly staying. She checked the site 3 times in the first hour, then 6 more times over the next 2 days. No one refreshes that obsessively unless they're scared. I didn't feel satisfaction. Not yet. Satisfaction is a meal best eaten alone in a quiet room, with no one left to tell you it's time to stop. I'd made peace with being the villain in her story. In fact, I leaned into it. I cleaned out our joint storage unit, donated the things she'd left behind. Her favorite boots, her old college books, a box of letters I once wrote her, unopened, still tied in string. I left those at the top of the donation pile. Some stranger could read them now. Maybe they'd find value in what she ignored. My phone rang again on day 48. Her number, again. I almost didn't answer, but something about the timing, just past midnight, pulled at me. I picked up. Hello. Silence. Then, why are you doing this? She asked. Her voice was quieter than I remembered. Not weak, just worn out. Doing what? I said, you know what? I'll let the pause stretch. I'm doing what you never had the courage to do. Living with the truth. You're trying to ruin me. No, I said. I'm letting you ruin yourself. I just turned on the lights. She didn't argue. I could hear the strain in her breathing. You win, she said finally. I'll sign whatever you want. Just take the site down. I almost laughed. It hasn't even gone live yet. But it might, she whispered. Every day I wake up thinking today's the day. I can't, she caught herself. I can't keep living like that. I thought about saying, now you know how it felt. Thought about dragging her through every night I laid awake wondering who she was texting, who she was becoming behind my back. But I didn't. I let the silence do the heavy lifting. I'll think about it, I said, and hung up. The next day, I got an email from a burner address. Subject line, please. Attached was a scanned copy of a divorce agreement. Everything I asked for. House, car, no alimony, no claim to the savings account. It was signed, dated, legal. The timestamp showed it had been prepared before she even called me. She'd already surrendered. Her call was just the last thread snapping. I sent it to my lawyer that afternoon. That should have been it. The end. But something in me wouldn't let go of the timer. It kept ticking. 44 days. 43. I didn't know what I was waiting for. Maybe I wanted to see if she'd crack. Maybe I was starting to wonder if I was becoming the monster she now believed I was. But then, on day 39, I got a message I hadn't expected. It came through the contact form on the site. No name, no return email, just text. I know who she really is. You're not the only one. That sentence sat in my chest like a lead weight. I stared at it for a long time, wondering if it was bait, a trap. But curiosity is louder than caution. I replied with a single line. Talk. The response came an hour later. A real email this time, from someone named Casey. She said she worked in Hannah's old office. Said she'd seen the shift months before I did. Hannah's sudden disappearances, the secrets, the flirty glances with Evan that everyone else ignored. But that wasn't what got my attention. It was the last line. She's done this before. I read it 5 times. Asked for details. What Casey sent me over the next few days unraveled everything I thought I knew. Turns out Hannah had a pattern. 3 years ago, she was in another department. Different guy. Same script. Secret affair, private hotel meetups, carefully coordinated lies. That one ended quietly. HR brushed it under the rug. No formal complaint, just a restructuring that moved her up the ladder and moved him out the door. Evan was just the latest casualty. I wasn't even the first man she'd burned for sport, just the first one who fought back. And suddenly the rage that had been cooling reignited. Not because she'd cheated, not because she lied, but because I had made it personal, intimate, sacred when it was just a pattern to her. A repeat offense in a long chain of betrayals. Day 34. I logged into the site, looked at the publish button again, hovered, tapped it once. It asked me, "Are you sure?" I stared at that line. No, not yet. The timer kept ticking, and I started planning something else. Something bigger, something final. Because truth is good. But destruction, when done right, when done cold and clean, is better. I didn't want to just expose her. I wanted to dismantle her. Not loudly. Not with a public scream or a viral spectacle. That's too quick. Too merciful. I wanted her life to collapse the way mine did. Quietly, with no dramatic thunder. Just one brick removed at a time until the walls gave out under their own weight. I started small. I knew her routines better than she probably knew them herself. I knew the yoga instructor she secretly hated but kept seeing for appearances. I knew the hair salon where she always overtipped because the stylist gossiped like a radio host with a vendetta. I knew the local charity board she joined, not out of compassion, but because it looked good on her resume. I didn't have to lie. I just shared. I sent screenshots and whispers. You may want to see this. No sender. No return address. A well-timed email with a subject line like a tap on the shoulder. About your board member. They didn't ask questions. They just quietly started peeling her name off their website. I didn't stop there. I sent a few curated excerpts of her old work messages to her new boss. Just enough to suggest a pattern. Just enough to leave a crack. It's amazing how fast doubt spreads when no one knows where it started. She stopped appearing in group photos. Her name stopped getting tagged. I watched it happen like mold growing in reverse. One day, she was part of everything. The next, she was a smudge they were quietly trying to erase. Day 23. I got a call from her sister, Sam. She and I had never been close. Too different. She liked brunches and polite arguments. I liked directness and space. Still, she called, her voice tense. What are you doing to her? I leaned back in my chair, let the question hang. I'm not doing anything. She's just finally being seen for who she is. She's not eating, Sam said. She's barely sleeping. She's unraveling. That makes two of us, I said, except I didn't get a support group when it was my turn. She knows she screwed up. No, I said. She knows she got caught. That's not the same thing. Sam exhaled hard through her nose. Look, I'm not saying she doesn't deserve consequences. I'm saying I'm the one cleaning up the mess. Then maybe stop enabling her, I said, and hung up. I waited for the guilt to hit. It didn't. Day 20. I pulled the site offline. Just like that. No warning. No explanation. The timer vanished. The photo's gone. The silence returned, but it wasn't peace. It was the kind that makes people restless. I knew what she'd do. I could picture it clearly. Her logging on in the middle of the night. Refreshing, only to find a blank screen. She wouldn't know if I'd given up or if something worse was coming. That's what I wanted. For her to live inside the not knowing. A week passed. I focused on rebuilding. I repainted the walls in the living room. Took down the art she insisted we hang, but never liked. Bought a new couch, something minimalist, cold, functional. Something she'd have called depressing. I liked it. I went through old photos. Deleted most. Kept a few. Not of her, but of me. Reminders. Evidence that I'd existed before her and would exist after. I started cooking again. Real meals. Not just takeout containers and frozen crap. I played vinyl records, ones I hadn't listened to in years. There was something satisfying about it, dropping the needle and hearing the scratch of something analog, imperfect, human. Then, on day 12, I got the message. Not from her. From Evan. Again. She's gone, it said. Just that. No context. No follow-up. I didn't respond. I didn't care where she went or who she went with. If she left town, good. If she changed her name and tried to disappear into some new city, even better. That wasn't the point anymore. The point was that she looked into the abyss and blinked. That's the thing people never understand about betrayal. It doesn't just break trust. It rewires the way you see people. It teaches you how to read the small signs, the tone shifts, the gaps between what someone says and what they really mean. And once you learn that language, you can't unlearn it. I didn't want her back. I didn't want apologies or closure or some desperate plea for forgiveness that she rehearsed in a mirror before calling me. I wanted the echo of her guilt to follow her into every room she walked into. I wanted her to question every smile she got from a stranger, wondering if they knew. I wanted her to look in a mirror and see the cracks I'd carved into her reflection. And I wanted to forget her name. Day 10. I changed mine. Not legally, just online. Socials, emails, everywhere her ghost might try to find me. A clean break. She could keep whatever version of me she thought she broke. The real one had already left the building. 10 days left until what? Nothing. That was the point. There was no final blow, no reveal, no showdown. The worst revenge is the kind they don't even get to see. It's the sound of a door closing in the distance and realizing you weren't invited through. She didn't ruin me. She exposed me to fire and thought I'd turn to ash. But I didn't. I forged something sharper. And I left the smoke for her. The first time I saw her again was accidental. Grocery store. Aisle 4. I was reaching for a box of cereal when she turned the corner. Hair shorter, face thinner, eyes ringed with the kind of fatigue that doesn't come from sleepless nights but from carrying too many ghosts. She froze. I didn't. I picked up the cereal and walked past her like she was another stranger crowding the aisle. She didn't say a word. Neither did I. But I felt her watching me the entire way to checkout. It's funny. You can know someone inside and out, map every scar and freckle, and still one day look through them like they're made of glass. That's what she became, transparent, fragile, not a person anymore, but a hollow echo of who she pretended to be. I paid in cash, didn't even glance back. When I got to my car, I sat in silence and let the moment settle. It didn't feel triumphant. It felt clean, like wiping the final smudge from a mirror. She texted me that night. Just one word. Please. I didn't reply. I didn't even open it. Let her imagination fill in the blanks. Silence is louder than screaming when you're desperate for acknowledgement. That's what she was now. A ghost rattling at the windows of a house she used to own. I'd already changed the locks. The countdown had ended 5 days ago. No one noticed because no one needed to. The website was gone. No explosion. No reveal. Just nothing. That's what kills people like her. Not the exposure. The erasure. The irrelevance. To be seen for who you are is one thing. To be forgotten is worse. I got an email the next morning from her sister, short and bitter. You made your point. She's not eating. Not sleeping. I hope it was worth it. I didn't respond to that either. Because no one asked how I was eating when Hannah was out late pretending to be in meetings. No one asked how I was sleeping when I rolled over to an empty bed and the faint glow of her phone lighting up under the pillow. No one sent her emails when I was the one unraveling, just quieter about it. The world only notices pain when it makes noise. I made mine silent, surgical, and now it was done. I started running again. Early mornings before the streets filled, before the world put on its face. The cold air in my lungs reminded me I was still alive, still moving. I ran past the bookstore she used to love, past the cafe where she said she first saw Evan and thought he had a nice laugh. I didn't stop. I didn't look in. That version of me, the man who waited patiently for her to come home, who excused late arrivals and shifted blame inward, that man was gone. I'd buried him right next to the version of her I'd once loved. She called again, 3 days in a row, left voicemails this time. I didn't listen to them. I kept deleting them like junk mail. I think she needed to hear herself beg, needed to believe that at some point I'd pick up and she'd get a chance to perform sorrow. But guilt is a performance she was never good at. She always overacted. A week passed. Then 2. No more calls. No more texts. The silence stretched long and thin, like the space between 2 lines that once ran parallel, but now veered off in opposite directions. I got promoted at work. Started seeing someone. Nothing serious. Just dinners, conversation, laughter that didn't feel like a transaction. She didn't ask about my past. I didn't offer it. Some things don't need retelling. I saw on social media, through mutual friends' tagged photo, that Hannah moved. Different city, new haircut, same smile but thinner, strained, like someone trying to prove they're okay before the photo clicks. I looked at the image for a few seconds, then closed the app. That was the last time I saw her face. You don't always get justice with a gavel or an audience. Sometimes you get it in the quiet, in the absence, in knowing the story ended on your terms. She took something from me. Time, trust, a version of love that could have grown into something lasting. But I took something back. Control, clarity, the ability to walk away without looking over my shoulder. There's no epilogue, no letter she sent me years later, no reconciliation or confession or dramatic reunion. Just two people who once shared a life and now share nothing. Not even a grudge, just silence and space. And sometimes that's better than revenge. Sometimes that is revenge, that it's strange how healing doesn't announce itself. There's no ceremony, no switch that flips. One day you just wake up, make coffee, and realize you didn't think about her. Not once. No tightness in your chest. No phantom weight in the other half of the bed. Just morning and the sound of your own breath. That's how it started for me. Not with triumph, not with vengeance fulfilled, but with absence. And the realization that peace is just the absence of chaos. I still keep the folder, though, tucked away in a digital archive buried under meaningless names and layers of encryption. Photos, emails, bank transfers, enough to sink her life twice over. I don't look at it. I don't need to, but it's there. A relic, insurance, or maybe just a scar I keep so I don't forget where I was cut. People ask sometimes, quietly, friends who stuck around after the fallout. Whatever happened with Hannah, I always give the same answer. She left. It's true. She left long before her body did. Left in pieces, in excuses, in half-truths that became full lies. And me? I didn't just survive her. I outgrew her. I became someone she wouldn't recognize now. Someone she couldn't manipulate with a sigh or a well-timed apology. They always think revenge has to be loud, that it needs to come with fire and spectacle. But the best kind, the kind that lasts, is measured, precise. It doesn't just hurt. It teaches. It rewires the offender's reality, makes them question every smile, every compliment, every footstep behind them. Makes them live in a world where they are no longer the center of anyone's orbit. I heard through someone else that she tried to get another job in a similar field. She got through 2 interviews before the offer mysteriously vanished. Maybe someone sent a package. Maybe someone made a call. Or maybe reputations have a way of rotting in quiet corners. Who knows? I didn't need to keep tabs. Just knowing she had to carry the truth in her mouth like broken glass was enough. But here's the part they don't tell you about revenge. Once it's done, truly done, you're left with silence. No enemy to shadow. No plan to sharpen. No name to curse under your breath. Just you. And whatever's left of the person you were before it all broke. For a while, that scared me. I wasn't sure who I was without the bitterness, without the mission. But slowly I figured out. I was someone who knew how to rebuild. Someone who knew how to sit with pain without letting it rot him from the inside. Someone who'd walked through fire, came out colder, cleaner. I still see her sometimes. Not in real life. In flickers. A laugh that sounds like hers in a crowded restaurant. A silhouette crossing the street at dusk. But it always vanishes on second glance. That's what she is now. A ghost. Not buried. Just gone. And I don't need a grave. I just need the silence she left behind. Because in that silence, I found myself again. And this time, I'm not sharing him with anyone.